Hello, this is Kraig Smyth, MyBizGuide, and a new trial format of disengage from linear mindset and lessons from addiction. So I'd like to thank you for joining me today while I work on this Zoom whiteboard. And excuse the background noise. This is a test. This is only a test. Okay, so check this out. Everybody who's been through addiction, welcome, welcome. As I said, you see my little spotlight thing here, disengage from linear mindset, lessons from addiction, understanding the foundations of addiction and using the knowledge to keep growing, because nothing is stagnant. Nothing is stagnant. And that is where contemporary society perpetuates non-physical addictions. Okay? Hold that thought. Here's you. Here's the physical substance addiction, and here's contemporary society, basically. This diagram through the mind's eye. Okay, you understand that? This is our diagram. This is just an explanation of how we see things, of our view, of our perspective. So here's us when we look at physical substance addiction, and we're looking here. We're probably looking, oh, let's see here. Where's my light there? We're probably looking like here and here, mostly. We're not even seeing all this. So from here above and here below is where we are going to get into the benefits of addiction, right? Because if we go over here, there's no escape from our life lessons. So everything we go through has a place. And key understanding 3, I'm going backwards, right? The bigger the challenge, the bigger skill built from it, right? So our path of addiction was a pretty big challenge, right? The biggest one. So therefore, the skill built from it must be huge. Has everyone seen the skill that we've built from our path with addiction? No, that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about this. We need to find that skill. We need to uncover that skill, because that skill is, I think, one of the best things that's happened to all of us in order to get us really out of linear mindset. That skill is what is going to help us disengage from linear mindset and really understand how people work, the inner workings of people. Because when we were through addiction, we had to get to our core. We had to get to the core of ourselves. And even if we didn't cognitively write down and understand and be able to repeat everything that was going on then, maybe now we're able to look back and understand some things. But when we got down to the core of ourselves, we got down to the core of all humans, because all humans, we all have the same operating system, basically, especially when it comes to life and death. And addiction is definitely life and death. But when we survive that challenge of life or death, there is this huge skill set built. So back over here. So we're used to looking at addiction from this and the physical substance. And I think that everyone knows that it's not just about the physical substance. It's about disconnecting or disengaging from compulsive action, right? Key understanding number 2, conscious versus compulsive. So really how we got out of our addiction was to feel our way around, feel our feelings, pay attention to our feelings. We were feeling for that feeling that we were going to slip into a compulsive or into a default. And that is a huge insight into contemporary society and the frailties of contemporary society, and actually how our species works as a whole, as its core, understanding conscious versus compulsive. There's a lot of discussion that could be had about conscious versus compulsive. I'm going to try and streamline this a little bit, but let's say this for an example. And if I was really cool, I'd be able to write on the whiteboard this quick, but I'm not there yet. So, for example, we could say that, well, we have to understand disconnect from natural law. In natural law, everything in nature and natural law, everything has to stay updated. All of our skill sets, all parts of our life, we always have to stay updated. So there is no, come down here, there is no entitlement, there is no rights, right? There is no such thing as rights. Everything has to constantly qualify. So, of course, contemporary society has these written laws talking about rights. Well, that's just a delusion because it does not align with nature. And obviously, laws restrict, they don't facilitate. So, that compulsiveness is very closely connected to default, and the default to rely on something constant like written law, the monetary system, clocks, rights. And here, that constant was drugs. Because when we use drugs, alcohol, or whatever, which we're going to lead into here soon, we get that constant feeling. We get that consistent feeling, but it's a digression. It's going backwards because there is really no replication of consistency in the natural world, right? And the parallel quote is that a person never fishes the same river twice because it is never the same person and it is never the same river. So our comfort, as opposed to defaulting and looking for a consistent feeling, our comfort comes from understanding natural law. Our comfort comes from being conscious. Our comfort comes from our ability to grow through the challenges and understand the skill that's being built from them. That's where our comfort is supposed to come from. Our comfort is not from something artificially built in a vain effort to create stability. That is not reality. So we're going to use our, back to what we're talking about, is feeling, for the feeling of compulsive, for that feeling of hitting the default. We need to look for that, and we can compare that. Now look at the visual here, okay? We've been looking at these small circles. Here's us, the little circle, and then here's the bigger circle of addiction that has some things that hadn't been addressed that we're addressing now. But here is contemporary society, which is just addiction and perpetuating addiction. And here's the test, all right? Solve your problems without written law, money, or clocks. Solve your problems without government, money, or clocks. And if that catches you up, that means you are addicted to contemporary society and linear mindset. Okay, so the good thing is you have practice with physical substance. Now, instead of feeling for that feeling when you're going to do coke, speed, alcohol, whatever, sex, food, I mean, anything can be an addiction, really. But now get government, money, and clocks on your radar and look for that. And don't fall into that negative cycle of addiction and that repetitive cycle of delusion. Same thing. Doing drugs isn't going to solve your problems. Relying on these things is not going to solve problems. Okay, next step, big picture stuff. Welcome to reality. Okay, so there you go. Have a good time with that. That should do it, right? Okay, lessons from addiction. There's a lot more. Use your skills. Use the skills. Understand. See these key understandings. Disconnect from nature and natural law. That's a foundation of all contemporary societies. Disconnect, right? Cycles, and natural laws of growth. And understanding conscious versus compulsive. Be conscious. Don't let those defaults come and take us over. Understand, the bigger the challenge, the bigger the skill built from it. Understand everything we've gone through is there for a purpose. And key understanding number 4, there's no escape from our life lessons. And that's a beautiful example of how nature and natural law heals. Understanding this, really understanding it, and which means implementing it into our lives, not just saying it makes sense on a logical level, but on all 4 levels, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, understanding some of these things. And that addiction, I believe, lessons from addiction is maybe the big key stepping stone to understanding contemporary society, understanding our species, and getting our species out from its addiction. So that was a test for doing this recording, and I thank you for joining me. I'm definitely open to feedback. This is my first one. Kraig Smyth, My Biz Guide, Business of Being Human, Disengage from Linear Mindset and Lessons of Addiction. Thank you.